各位记者朋友，
Good afternoon. Welcome to today's press briefing. First of all, two announcements. At the invitation of Vice President Han Zheng, Vice President of Brazil will pay an official visit to China from June the 4th to the 8th. At the invitation of member of the Political Bureau of the CPC Central Committee and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Wang Yi, Venezuela's Foreign Minister Yuan Hu will visit China from June the 4th to the 7th. Now the floor is open.
现在发言人总台央视记者提问：上周中方已经公开表。
CCTV, the Chinese said publicly last week that it will not attend the summit on peace in Ukraine organized by Switzerland. Does it mean that China does not support Switzerland and Ukraine holding the summit? Some believe that not attending the summit means not supporting peace and standing on the side of Russia in opposition to Ukraine. What's your comment? China believes that all efforts that are conducive to the peaceful settlement of the crisis should be supported. We have attached great importance to Switzerland's organizing the Summit on Peace in Ukraine from the very beginning and have been in close communication with Switzerland, Ukraine, and other relevant parties on this. China has repeatedly stressed that the International Peace Conference needs to meet the three important elements, namely recognition from both Russia and Ukraine, equal participation of all parties, and fair discussion of all peace plans. As far as China is concerned, the meeting does not yet seem to meet the three elements, and that is exactly why China will not be able to take part in the meeting. Let me stress that China's position on the peace conference is fair and just. Our position does not target any party, and certainly not this particular summit. China's decision on participation is purely based on our assessment of the meeting itself, and we believe relevant parties can understand that position. Whether one supports peace or not should not be judged by a particular country or on the basis of a particular meeting. China sincerely hopes that the peace conference will not turn into a platform used to create bloc confrontation. Not attending it does not mean not supporting peace. For certain countries, even if they do participate, they do not necessarily wholeheartedly want the conflict to stop. What matters is what kind of action that is being taken, and what has happened shows that China has been most firmly and actively committed to promoting talks for peace. China has never sat idly by or fueled the flames, still has profiteered from the conflict. Instead, we have worked relentlessly for a ceasefire, and this has been highly recommended by various parties, including Russia and Ukraine. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。北京青年报记者提问：您刚刚发布了委内瑞拉外长希尔。
You just released information of Venezuela's state to China. How does China view its current relations with Venezuela, and what's the program of the visit? China and Venezuela are always strategic partners. Last September, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro paid a successful state visit to China. In the strategic guidance of President Xi Jinping and President Nicolas Maduro, bilateral relations have entered a new historical period. This year marks the 50th anniversary of China-Venezuela diplomatic ties. We welcome Foreign Minister Ivan Gil Pinto to visit China and attend the event celebrating the anniversary. We hope and believe the visit will be a good opportunity to continue to implement the important common understandings reached between the two presidents, carry forward our traditional friendship, and provide sustained driving force for our all-weather strategic partnership.
新华社记者提问：发言人刚刚发布了巴西副总统阿尔克明访。
You just released Brazilian president visits to China. Can you have more information on that? During the official visit of Brazil's Vice President Geraldo Alckmin to China, Vice President Han Zheng will have talks with him, and the two vice presidents will co-chair the 7th meeting of the China-Brazil High-Level Coordination and Cooperation Committee. The two countries are both major developing countries and important emerging markets, and each other's comprehensive strategic partners. This year marks the 50th anniversary of China-Brazil diplomatic ties and the 20th anniversary of the establishment of the High-Level Coordination and Cooperation Committee. China hopes that this visit will help further consolidate political mutual trust, strategic cooperation, and deepen practical cooperation in various fields between the two sides for the steady and sustained growth of the bilateral relations.
Thank you very much. With NOS, the Dutch public broadcaster. Last week, shortly after the inauguration of the newly elected leader of Taiwan, also very shortly after the exercises around Taiwan by the PLA, a Dutch marine ship passed through first the South China Sea than the Taiwan Strait as part of a bigger freedom of navigation exercise in the region. Is China aware of this transit through the Taiwan Strait? Have Chinese marine vessels, for instance, also monitored the Dutch ship? And how does China view this passing? Thank you.
Could you repeat your question, please? Are you referring to... I clearly heard your first part of from the Netherlands.
我还是建议你向中方的主管部门了解。
I'd refer you to competent authorities. I like to say that China always respect the freedom and right to navigation of all countries, but we oppose any country to violate China's sovereignty and security in the name of that. And we hope that countries outside the region could do things that are conducive to the peace and security and do not make provocations and stir up troubles in this region. On the South China Sea navigation, I'd like to say that there is any problem in this regard. The next question, please.
谢谢发言人。中新社记者提问：近日，美国国务院发言人
China News Service, the U.S. State Department spokesperson, announced new visa restrictions on officials of the central government and the Hong Kong SAR government in a statement released last week on the verdict issued by the Hong Kong court on some involved in the case of conspiring to commit subversion. What's China's comment? The U.S. has deliberately attacked the principle of one country, two systems, smeared the law on safeguarding national security in Hong Kong SAR, irresponsibly commented on democracy and freedoms in Hong Kong, sought to meddle with Hong Kong SAR's judicial matters, and abused visa restrictions. Such moves blatantly interfere in China's internal affairs, violate international law and basic norms in international relations. China strongly deplores and opposes it. Let me be clear that the so-called primary election organized by those involved in the case who are anti-China and sought to destabilize Hong Kong amounts to a serious challenge to the constitutional order in Hong Kong and endangers national security. Among the defendants involved, 31 have already pleaded guilty. It is reasonable and lawful for the law enforcement and judicial authorities in the Hong Kong SAR to carry out their duties in accordance with the law and punish all acts that undermine national security. The central government firmly supports this. I would like to stress that Hong Kong affairs are purely China's domestic affairs that brooks no external interference. We urge the U.S. to earnestly respect China's sovereignty and rule of law in Hong Kong, abide by international law and basic norms in international relations, immediately stop supporting and speaking for anti-China voices. The U.S. should not in any way meddle with Hong Kong affairs. If the U.S. implements the visa restrictions, China will take firm countermeasures. Next one, please.
From the BBC, can you tell us anything more about this case of the alleged courting of spies in Britain by the UK's intelligence service MI6? There was a public announcement about this. Do you know anything about the case, who the people are, who they work for, why MI6 might want to use these people as spies? And are we going to see any sort of response from the Chinese government in terms of retribution or something like that?
我注意到中方有关部门已经详细地发布了。
I've noted that the competent authorities have released relevant information. I don't have much information to offer. Thank you. Next question, please.
谢谢发言人。东方卫视记者提问。那么我们关注到，在6月2号，美日韩。
On June 2nd, the U.S., Japan, ROK have held the trilateral defense ministers meetings, and they accused China of its unilateral attempts to change the status quo in the waters of the Indo-Pacific and reaffirm the importance of the peace and stability of the strait, and also opposes unlawful maritime claims. We also noted that on the May 31st, there is such relevant negative content. And also, Undersecretary of State Campbell expressed that he hopes China could exert influence on the DPRK. And do you have any comment? We've noted that the three countries, in the name of the trilateral defense ministers and relevant conversations, push through their so-called Indo-Pacific strategy and make irresponsible remarks and interfere in China's internal affairs. It has attacked and smeared China in the name of relevant issues. We have such positions. First, China strongly opposes manipulating bloc policy and also opposes any stirring up troubles and aggravating conflicts. And also we strongly oppose the exclusive blocs in Asia Pacific. And the U.S. should keep his promise of do not seek to oppose China through strengthening alliance. Second, the One China principle is the universal consensus and the basic norms of international relations. The Taiwan issue is a purely matter of China's internal affairs and brook no external interference. The current greatest threat is Taiwan-dependent separatist actions and external forces connivance. If relevant countries care for its peace and stability, they should be committed to the One China principle and strongly oppose the Taiwan independent separatist forces. Third, China strongly safeguarded its own sovereignty, territorial integrity, and maritime rights and interests. And we sticks to the principle that we will help solve the relevant issues through dialogue and consultation with stakeholders. However, the U.S. keeps inciting specific countries to make provocations on maritime matters to China and drive a wedge between different countries in the region and also make frequent military drill. Fourth, China's position in the Korean Peninsula is consistent. We urge relevant stakeholders to make prudential remarks and behaviors and will based on the norms and reality will make our efforts to solve relevant issues. Thank you.
谢谢。深圳卫视执新闻记者提问：昨天嫦娥6号在月球背面南极艾特克。
Yesterday, China's Chang'e 6 touched down in the South Pole Icahn Basin on the far side of the moon. This has attracted great attention from the international community. Head of the European Space Agency, Josef Aschbacher, commented that it is a wonderful accomplishment that ESA is thankful and proud to have a part in. What's your comment? On June 2nd, about 1 month after its launch on May 3rd, Chang'e 6 successfully landed at the designated landing area on the far side of the moon. It is collecting lunar soil and rock samples and conducting scientific exploration, which produces valuable videos and data. The mission also carries international payloads from the European Space Agency, France, Italy, and Pakistan for joint scientific exploration. This is a historic step in China's space exploration and, more importantly, a step of peaceful use of space in human history. Understanding and exploring the universe is humanity's shared aspiration, and the peaceful use of space will improve the well-being of all. We stand ready to follow the principles of equality, mutual benefit, peaceful use, and inclusive development to deepen international space exchanges and cooperation, share development fruits with other countries, and unravel the mysteries of the universe. We look forward to the safe return of Chang'e 6 probe with valuable lunar samples. Thank you.
下一个问题。
Next one, please.
Good afternoon, Bloomberg News. Just to follow up on the question about the Ukraine. President Zelensky, when he was in Singapore, said that Russia is doing everything it can to disrupt the upcoming peace conference by using Chinese influence and Chinese diplomats. What is your comment on these? What is your view on these comments? Thank you.
In my previous answers, I just stated China's position on Switzerland holding the peace summits. We attaches great importance to Switzerland organizing the first summit on peace in Ukraine and has been in communication with Switzerland and relevant parties on this. We noted that Switzerland's foreign minister also stated their appreciation to China in their statement. China's position is fair and legitimate. I think there's no problem in that we attach great importance to its relations with Ukraine. Since the conflict broke out, China has been in communication and cooperation with Ukraine. China remains the biggest trading partner for Ukraine, and our diplomatic missions are in operation normally in Ukraine. China's position is open and fair. We've repeatedly said that the peace conference needs to meet 3 important factors, and we hope that relevant parties can understand our position. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。北京日报记者提问：5月29日，秘鲁国会以
The Peru Congress adopted a resolution to establish China-Peru Friendship Day. China and Peru are good partners of development. The Congress of Peru adopted this resolution to establish the Friendship Day with full vote. This also shows China-Peru friendship is deep into people's mind, and also show there is a wide popular basis for our future cooperation. We'd like to stand ready to work with Peru to deepen our strategic partnership and make it generate more fruits to benefit our peoples. Thank you.
下一个问题。
Question for Anadolu Agency. Mr. Zelensky implied that Chinese diplomats were pressuring the third countries, try to dissuade them participating in the summit. Is that true? You didn't specifically report it, but is this claim true? Your diplomats are try to dissuade third countries to participating in the summit? Thank you.
On the peace summit, China's position is fair and legitimate. We do not target any party, and we do not target the particular summit. Hegemonism is power politics. This is not what our foreign policy is for. There's no problem in transparency, and there's no things that China is pressuring other countries. Next one, please. Al Jazeera, according to Iran's media, Iran's ambassador was called upon for China to protest against the statement on the 3 islands. What's your comment?
中方对于3岛问题的立场。
China's position on the 3 islands issue is consistent. We hope that the 2 sides could call on the parties to resolve differences in the peaceful way through dialogue and consultation. The joint statement between China and it is consistent with China's position on this issue. China-Iran relations are solid. We attach importance to China-Iran comprehensive strategic partnership.
Next one, please.
还有其他问题吗？
Any other question, please?
NOS again, the Dutch public broadcaster. Tomorrow will be June 4th. It's 35 years after the protests took place there in 1989. How do the Chinese authorities now look back at this date and their actions that eventually led to this massacre? Thank you.
对于上世纪80年代末发生。
For the political turbulence, we have already had settled on this. Next question, please.
I have 2 questions. My first question is, on the 14th of May, your colleague Wang Wenbing said that, sorry, let me read this so I have it accurately. He said that all accusations of spying by China are groundless and unacceptable vilification. Today, the Ministry of State Security obviously posted about 2 people who are found to have been spying for the British. So, to confirm your position, the Chinese government has never spied on the UK, but the Chinese government is now accusing the UK of spying on China. Is that correct? Thank you.
What we oppose is make more obstacles to the bilateral relations in the name of so-called spy cases. On this case, I don't have more information to offer. Please refer to relevant authorities.
So you're, yeah. So sorry, just to follow up. So you're saying that the British case that was announced in May is groundless, but this case there is grounds for this case. Is that your statement, or there has never been any spying? Wang Wenbin's comments was there has never been any spying by China on the UK.
The case you mentioned in May, my colleagues have introduced our position. The reality is very clear. The UK has arrested and prosecuted our civilian is a malicious accusation, and they have groundless arrest of Chinese nationals. And the case you mentioned today, I do not know the specifics, but I like to say that China is a country ruled by law. We have a reality basis for my introduction.
And my second question was about there was a Chinese influencer on Xiaohongshu who was filmed who posted over the weekend himself urinating on the gate of Yasukuni Shrine in Tokyo. What is the position of the Foreign Ministry on how Chinese citizens should act when they are overseas? Thank you.
I've noted relevant reports. I'd like to stress that Yasukuni Shrine is a militarist forces tool and a symbol of its invasion war. The Japanese side should keep to its promise to think about it, and also to have more trust from its neighboring countries in Asia through concrete actions, and also like to stress that our Chinese people overseas should respect the local laws and regulations and express their concerns.
A question from AFP. According to the Financial Times, Beijing has unreasonable demands on price and supply levels about a Russia-China gas pipeline called Power of Siberia #2. Is the deal between Beijing and Moscow stuck, as the report suggests? Thank you.
On the specifics of President Putin's visit to China, we have already had very detailed information on that you may refer to. On the cooperation between the two sides of the two countries, I'd like to say that we should find the convergence of our interests and bring benefits to each other. This is a common understanding of our two presidents. We like to carry through these important understandings and also deepen our cooperation in all areas. Thank you. Next question, please.
Al Jazeera, according to China's foreign ministry, Turkey's foreign minister is arriving at Beijing and starting his three-day visit to China. What will be discussed between the two sides? Will the discussion involve Ukraine crisis and other international hotspots?
I believe that China and Turkey's foreign ministers will exchange views on questions of both concerned. We'll release relevant information, and please keep updated. Thank you. Next question, please.
Question from Reuters. This is regarding what Ukraine President Zelensky said at the Shangri-La Dialogue over the weekend as well. So according to reports, President Zelensky said that there are elements that are part of Russia's weaponry that come from China. How does China respond to these remarks? Thank you.
First, China is not a part to and is not a generator of this crisis. We do not provide weapons to any parts, and this has been commended by the international community. Our normal trade is lawful and also inconsistent with the international trade rules and do not target any third party. And also noted that over 60% of the military import of the war comes from the Western countries, and President Zelensky also touched upon this.
下一个问题。
Next question, please.
还有其他问题吗？
Any question? Okay. This is the end of today's news conference. Thank you.